to start this YouTube channel called Quillee's Beth's Book Thoughts. So I'm basically going to read a book and do a video on a little bit about a review of the book and what I think about the book and who and what areas I would recommend it to. For my first video, I am doing it on the book Don't Look Back. It's by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Not really good at pronouncing names. And I would say this goes into, I would definitely say this is a mystery novel. And there will be spoilers, so I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler alert as I talk about the book more. So this book is about a girl named Samantha who disappeared for 4 days and then resurfaced. And it's about how she starts to get back into her life and how she figures out what happened to her. To say that I was surprised at the end about what happened to her would be an understatement. I really did not think. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit, otherwise I kind of have a bad habit of hopping to one thought to another. So Samantha and her friend Cassie disappear, and then Samantha reappears. We later find out that Cassie passes away, and then Samantha is really struck on trying to figure out what happened to her and what happened to Cassie. And it really tears her up inside, and she really has a hard time with it. And she's actually dating a gentleman named Dell, and she's discovering the more that she starts to hang out with him, the more that she starts to remember how not so perfect the relationship is, despite what Dell is telling her. And she starts to hang out with her childhood best friend named Carson again. Carson works for her family, and her family is especially her mom, is very particular on who she hangs out with, as her mom wouldn't want it to disturb her image. Now, Dell, who she is dating at the beginning of the book, is from a rich family, so they have this, perfect relationship going on. But it turns out that they don't quite have this perfect relationship as she would have thought. The more you read into it, the more she finds out that Dell and her were fighting throughout the relationship, and how she treated other people. And she realizes that she did not like how she treated other people before she disappeared. So she's starting to, I guess you could say, reinvent herself. She has a second chance at life. And she starts to reevaluate her actions. So as she's hanging out with her old friends, she realizes that she doesn't want to be like them anymore. So she doesn't act like them anymore, and it creates a rift in their friendship, and she kind of falls out with them and stops becoming friends with them anymore. And she starts hanging out with Carson more. And as she's hanging out with Carson, she realizes that she's starting to remember different things. And as you read far into the book, she gets these notes occasionally that say, "Don't look back, you won't like what you find, don't tell him everything that you remember." And it turns out at the end of the book, you'll find that she's writing these notes to herself. She's trying to get herself to remember all these thoughts and actions and memories. And then, again, as you find out that her brother knew Scott, her brother's name is Scott, he knew that she was writing these notes to herself as he remembered her handwriting from before. He ends up telling her about this, which leads up to her and everybody thinking that she is crazy. So her mom ends up sending her to a psychiatrist outside of the school, because she was seeing one in the school, which ends up leading her to take medication. And she starts taking this medication and she starts feeling normal. But then she starts remembering things again. And she ended up breaking up with Adele and getting together with Carson, and they went to prom together. And she ended up accusing Carson of killing Cassie, who was her friend, and then pushing her off the cliff, which isn't what happened. You find out at the end of the book that Cassie found out that they shared the same father. And she wanted Samantha to know about this, and so she invited her. They really don't specify how she invited her and how she got her to go out into the woods, but she got her to go out there, and Cassie and her father got into an argument, and Cassie ended up falling off. Now, Samantha was really surprised about this, so she went out and tried to confront her father, I guess you could say, but when her father reached out, Cassie fell off the cliff. Now, cliff waterfall area. Now, the specifications on that her father left Samantha because he thought she was dead, and she turned up the 4 days after she disappeared. So, Samantha was really upset about this, and they got into an argument when she found out about this in her bedroom. And she tried to call Carson, and Carson got there, but Carson and her father got into a little fight, I guess you could say, a scramble, and Carson ended up getting injured. They ran downstairs, and her mom, Samantha's mom, actually shot her father. Now, at the end of the book, Cassie is murdered by her own father in a way, and her father ends up being charged with murder. And Samantha and Carson end up together. Scott and I believe it's Julie. I'm trying to make sure I'm not just making up names as I go along. This book really had me interested in it, and I will admit I am one of those people that when I see a book, when I see a book, I do kind of judge it off of the cover. So the cover was really interesting, which got me involved in it. So her brother Scott and her old best friend Julie, who she wasn't friends with anymore when she became friends with Cassie, became friends again. And at the end of the book, it kind of ends off on a happy note that they're all getting along and that her father is going to jail. So I would classify this as a mystery novel, and once you get more into it, it is a murder mystery, but you really don't realize that at the beginning of the book. I judge the books on a percentage rating of up to 100%, and I would give this a solid 95. There are a few things that kind of irk me about it a little bit. I do feel like the author did drag it out a little, which I can kind of understand, because when you have amnesia, such as Samantha did, you don't remember everything right away, but I feel like there were certain parts of the book that the story would have been the same if it wasn't in it, if that makes sense. But, like I said, a solid 95%. I would highly recommend it to anyone that wants to read a murder, not necessarily a murder mystery, but a mystery novel. And it was a really easy read. It really kept you entertained and involved in the book. I didn't once get bored, but I did get impatient a little, and that's just me personally. And that might be because, like you said, I did feel like some parts of the books weren't completely necessary and weren't, well, especially at the first book, which is why I don't typically read series, but if you would like me to, I am willing to, as there are certain series that do interest me, such as the Dresden Files. I read the Harry Potter series, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series does interest me, and I do read those books as well. I'm trying to think of another series. This is more of a children's book, but the Geronimo Stilton series, I have read that, and I absolutely love that, and I still love that series, despite it being more of a children's book than a young adult book. And the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, I do love those books, and I will do a video on each of those, especially the books that have movies. I will comment on the movie versus the book. I actually love the Hobbit movie, and I know a lot of people that have read the book do not like the movie. And to be honest, I've never read the book entirely. I've always started it and then got distracted by, like, I have a lot of horses here because I do a variety of things with them, such as lessons and training programs, so I do end up getting distracted by that, and I don't quite finish the book, usually. Just such as the Harry Potter series, I'll end up reading one, and then I never finished the entire series. I've read the entire series, but not quite in order, which I'm going to do starting in a little bit once I get this YouTube channel going. I started this YouTube channel as I love books and I love talking about them. It's one of the few things that I can talk about besides horses constantly. So I'm hoping to read at least one book a week and do at least a 5-minute video of me talking about it, about me giving my review about it, and who I think this would be best suited for. Don't Look Back would be best suited for a person that is really interested in mystery, but it does have a little bit of romance in it, so if that interests anybody. It is really a great read, like I said, and I highly recommend it. Solid 95. Like I said, there was a few things that irked me, but that's just me personally. Thank you for everybody who has subscribed. Let me know if you have any books that you would like me to read, or comments about any books that you would like me to read. This is just my personal opinion on this book. I know some people will disagree on it. Thank you again. I really appreciate this.